believe we have the technical difficulties fixed.
Never
right?
say that.
Never say never. But we will march forward here and we'll lean forward here a little bit. Senator Warren, we're going to get to the gun question here. Parkland, Florida. It's just north of here in Broward County. As you know, it has created a lot of teenage activism on the gun issue. It has inspired a lot of you to come out with more robust plans to deal with guns, including assault weapons ban. But even if you're able to implement that, what do you do about the hundreds of millions of guns already out there? And does the federal government have to play a role in dealing with it?
So in this period of time that I've been running for president, I've had more than 100 town halls. I've taken more than 2,000 unfiltered questions. And the single hardest question I've gotten, I got one from a little boy and I got one from a little girl. And that is to say, when you're president, how are you going to keep us safe? That's our responsibility as adults. 7 children will die today from gun violence, children and teenagers. And they won't just die in mass shootings. They'll die on sidewalks, they'll die in playgrounds, they'll die in people's backyards. Gun violence is a national health emergency in this country, and we need to treat it like that. So what can we do? We can do the things that are sensible. We can do the universal background checks. We can ban the weapons of war. But we can also double down on the research and find out what really works, where it is that we can make the differences at the margins that will keep our children safe. We need to treat this like the virus that's killing our children.
You didn't address, do you think the federal government needs to go and figure out a way to get the guns that are already out there?
What I think we need to do is we need to treat it like a serious research problem, which we have not done. You know, guns in the hands of a collector who's had them for decades, who's never fired them, who takes safety seriously, that's very different from guns that are sold and turned over quickly. We can't treat this as an across-the-board problem. We have to treat it like a public health emergency. That means bring data to bear, and it means make real change in this country, whether it's politically popular or not.
Senator Booker, you have a program.
We need to fight for our children.
Senator Booker, you have a federal government buyback program in your plan. How is that going to work?
Well, first of all, I want to say my colleague and I both have been hearing this on the campaign trail. But what's even worse is I hear gunshots in my neighborhood. I think I'm the only one, I hope I'm the only one on this panel here that had 7 people shot in their neighborhood just last week. Someone I knew, Shoutout Smith, was killed with an assault rifle at the top of my block last year. For millions of Americans, this is not a policy issue. This is an urgency. And for those who have not been directly affected, they're tired of living in a country where their kids go to school to learn about reading, writing, and arithmetic, and how to deal with an active shooter in their school. This is something that I'm tired of, and I'm tired of hearing people, all they have to offer is thoughts and prayers. In my faith, people say faith without works is dead. So we will find a way. But the reason we have a problem right now is we've let the corporate gun lobby frame this debate. It is time that we have bold actions and a bold agenda. I will get that done as President of the United States because this is not about policy, this is personal.
Thank you, Senator Booker.
Secretary Castro, I'd like to talk to you about something that Senator Booker just mentioned there, the idea of active shooter drills in schools. As school shootings seem like an almost every day or every week occurrence now, they don't make a complete news cycle anymore, no matter the death toll. As parents are so afraid as their kids go off to school that their kids will be caught up in something like this, next to nothing has changed in federal law that might affect the prevalence of school shootings. Is this a problem that is going to continue to get worse over our lifetimes, or is there something that you would do as president that you really think would turn it around?
Yeah, Rachel, I'm the dad of a 10-year-old girl, Karina, who's here tonight, and the worst thing is knowing that your child might be worried about what could happen at school, a place that's supposed to be safe. The answer to your question is no, we don't have to accept that. And I believe that on January 20th, 2021, at 12:01 p.m., we're going to have a Democratic president, a Democratic House, and a Democratic Senate. the activists of Parkland, folks from Moms Demand who have risen up across the United States and inspired so many people. You know, we may not have seen yet legislative action, but we're getting closer. The House took a vote. In the Senate, the question often is, if the decision is between 60 votes, a filibuster, or passing common sense gun reform, I'm going to choose common sense gun reform. So I believe that we're going to be able to get that done in 2021.
Secretary Castro, thank you.
Rachel, I have something to add to this briefly.
We'll give you 30 seconds for a follow-up on that question, on that answer from Secretary Castro. Congressman Ryan.
You're talking about in the schools. These kids are traumatized. I support all the gun reforms here. We need to start dealing with the trauma that our kids have. We need trauma-based care in every school. We need social and emotional learning in every school. 90% of the shooters who do school shootings come from the school they're in, and 73% of them feel shamed, traumatized, or bullied. We need to make sure that these kids feel connected to the school. That means a mental health counselor in every single school in the United States. We need to start playing offense. If our kids are so traumatized that they're getting a gun and going into our schools, we're doing something wrong too, and we need reform around trauma-based care.
Congressman O'Rourke, you're a Texan who's you campaigned all over the state in 2018 in the most conservative parts there. What do you tell a gun owner who may agree with you on everything else? Okay, but says, you know what, the Democrats, if I vote for them in there, they're going to take my gun away. And even though I agree with you on all these other issues, how do you have that conversation?
Here's how we had that conversation in Texas. I shared with them what I learned from those students who survived the Santa Fe High School shooting. A young student named Bree, her friend Marcel, who survived another shooting, the mother of a victim who lost her life, Rhonda Hart. They talked about universal background checks where you close every loophole. We know that they save lives. Talked about ending the sales of assault weapons into our communities. Those weapons of war were designed to kill people as effectively and as efficiently as possible. They should belong on the battlefield and not in our communities. Red flag laws so that if someone poses a danger to themselves or to someone else, they're stopped before it's too late. And what I found in each one of those 254 counties is that Democrats and independents and Republicans, gun owners and non-gun owners alike agreed. But this effort must be led by the young people that you referenced at the beginning of this issue. Those students from Marjory Stoneman Douglas led the charge here in Florida, and they've been able to change those laws. They're making our democracy work, ensuring that our values and our interests and our priorities are reflected in the laws that we pass.
Thank you, Congressman O'Rourke. Hang on. Let me give 30 seconds. Senator Klobuchar, the Iron Range, I'm curious. Gun confiscation, right? If the government is buying back, how do you not have that conversation?
Well, that's not confiscation. You would give them the offer to buy back their gun. But I'll say this. I look at these proposals and I say, does this hurt my Uncle Dick in his deer stand, coming from a proud hunting and fishing state? These proposals don't do that. When I was a prosecutor, I supported the assault weapon ban. When I was in the Senate, I saw those moms from Sandy Hook come and try to advocate for change, and we all failed. And then now these Parkland kids from Florida, they started literally a national shift. You know why? It's just like with gay marriage. When kids talk to their parents and their grandparents, they say, I don't understand why we can't put these sensible things in place. They listen. And if we get bested by a bunch of 17-year-olds, it's the best thing that ever happened. We need to get
Senator Booker, let me go to you on another matter, actually. Senator Mitch McConnell says that his most consequential achievement as Senate Majority Leader was preventing President Obama from filling a Supreme Court seat. Having served with Republicans on the Judiciary Committee, do you believe they would confirm your court nominees?
I'm going to use 20 of my seconds just to say there's one thing we don't all agree with when it comes to guns, and I think it's common sense, and over 70% of Americans agree with me. If you need a license to drive a car, you should need a license to buy and own a firearm. And not everybody in this field agrees with that, but in states like Connecticut that did that, they saw 40% drops in gun violence and 15% drops in suicides. We need to start having bold agendas on guns. When it comes to the Supreme Court, very clearly, I agree with my friend, Secretary Castro, we are going to get to 50 votes in the Senate. This is a team sport. Whoever is our nominee needs to campaign in places like South Carolina, because we can elect Jamie Harrison. They need to campaign in places like Iowa, because we can win a Senate seat there. This is about getting us back to having 50 votes in the Senate and more so that we can not only balance the Supreme Court, but start to pass an aggressive agenda that, frankly, isn't so aggressive because most of America agrees with the policy objectives of our party.
Mayor de Blasio, I want to jump in on this for a follow-up. Mayor de Blasio, you're using
in fairness, we have to actually...
Congressman Delaney, you'll have some time in a moment on this issue. Congressman Delaney, I'll give you some time in a moment. Mayor de Blasio, as an executive in the largest city in this country, you are used to saying what you want to have happen and having it happen. If you nominate a Supreme Court nominee as President of the United States and Mitch McConnell is still Senate Majority Leader, what makes you believe that he would allow you to make a nominee?
Rachel, I am chief executive of the nation's largest city, and I also want to just say something quick on the gun issue and come to your question. Look, I run the largest police force in America, too, and if we're going to stop these shootings, we're going to get these guns off the street, we have to have a very different relationship between our police and our community. I also want to say there's something that sets me apart from all my colleagues running in this race, and that is for the last 21 years, I've been raising a black son in America. And I have had to have very, very serious talks with my son Dante about how to protect himself on the streets of our city and all over this country, including how to deal with the fact that he has to take special caution because there have been too many tragedies between our young men and our police, too, as we saw recently in Indiana. So we need to have a different conversation in this country about guns, but also a different conversation about policing that brings police and community together. We've done that in New York City, and we've driven down crime while we've done it. But to your question about Mitch McConnell, there's a political solution that we have to come to grips with. If the Democratic Party would stop acting like the party of the elites and be the party of working people again and go into states, including red states, to convince people we're on their side, we can put pressure on their senators to actually have to vote for the nominees that are put forward. Decent jurists who deserve that right.
Thank you, Mayor de Blasio.
Senator Warren, I'm going to get you. I will get you 30 seconds. I promise. Let me get this question. We're trying. I know you guys. We got other issues we're trying to get to, including a big one coming up in a minute. But Senator Warren, I want to continue on the Mitch McConnell thing because you have a lot of ambitious plans. You have a plan for that. Okay. We talked about the Supreme Court. Do you have a plan to deal with Mitch McConnell if you don't beat him in the Senate? If he's still sitting there as the Senate Majority Leader, it's very plausible you be elected president with a Republican Senate. Do you have a plan to deal with Mitch McConnell?
I do. We are a democracy, and the way a democracy is supposed to work is the will of the people matters. Now, we for far too long have had a Congress in Washington that has just completely dismissed what people care about across this country. They have made this country work much better for those who can make giant contributions, made it work better for those who hire armies of lobbyists and lawyers, and not made it work for the people. Well, here's how I see this happening. Number one, sure, I want to see us get a Democratic majority in the Senate. But short of a Democratic majority in the Senate, you better understand, the fight still goes on. It starts in the White House, and it means that everybody we energize in 2020 stays on the front lines come January 2021. We have to push from the outside, have leadership from the inside, and make this Congress reflect the will of the people.
I'm going to get a couple of you in here. I'm going to get you a couple in here. 30 seconds. Congressman Delaney, you seem to believe you can do everything in a bipartisan manner. Mitch McConnell doesn't operate that way. He operates differently. Why do you think he is going to conform to your style?
I think we need to get things done. That's why I believe we need to operate in a bipartisan manner. Listen, I'll sign into law bills that come to the White House that are passed on a party line basis, absolutely. But all the big transformative things we've ever done in this country's history have happened when huge majorities of the American people get behind them, which is why we need real solutions, not impossible promises. We need to put forth ideas that work, whether it's on health care, creating universal health care so that every American gets health care, but not running on making private insurance illegal. The gun issue is related. The gun safety issue is related because I can't tell you how many times I've been with folks in Western Maryland, and they've said to me, You know, Democrats don't do anything for us. Republicans don't do anything for us. You fight all the time, so they vote on that single issue.
Okay,
if we
thank you,
become the
Congressman.
party of getting things done for the American people
Senator
with real solutions,
Booker,
not impossible
hang on.
promises, we'll be able to get all
I
these
promise
things
two
done.
30s here. I'm going to say, Senator Booker, 30 seconds. How do you deal with Mitch McConnell? You've been in the Senate. You can't get bills on the floor right now with Mitch McConnell. Presidents can't do it. Is President Booker going to get his bills on the floor with Senator McConnell?
You know, when I got to the United States Senate, going back to what de Blasio said, as an African-American man in an African-American dominated community, I knew one of the biggest issues was criminal justice reform. From police accountability to dealing with the fact that we have a nation that has more African-Americans under criminal supervision than all the slaves in 1850. And when I got to the Senate, people told me we could not get a comprehensive criminal justice reform bill done. And as my colleagues in the Senate know, I fought on that bill from the day I got to the Senate, built coalitions across the aisle, and today we passed the First Step Act. It's not as far as I want to go, but thousands of people will be liberated. I've taken on tough problems people said we cannot achieve, and I've been able to get things accomplished.
Thank you, Senator Booker. Rachel's got the next question.
Hold on, Governor, you're going to be happy with where we go. Governor Inslee, this next question is to you.
This is exactly why you don't have 10 people on a stage at once. This is exactly what the Republican debate looked like back in 2016, and this is just hilariously bad to watch. I'm only streaming it for you guys so you guys can know what's going on. For those who live outside the United States or do not have access to the Democratic debate, but I'm not going to be talking a lot during this, but that's basically why I haven't been, I've just kind of been silent this entire time for y'all.
We are the first generation to feel the sting of climate change, and we are the last that can do something about it. Our towns are burning, our fields are flooding, Miami is inundated. And we have to understand, this is a climate crisis, an emergency, and it is our last chance in the administration, next one, about it. And we need to do what I've done in my state. 100%. We now have a vision statement, and my plan has been called the gold standard of putting people to work. But the most important thing on this, in the biggest decision for the American public, is who's going to make this the first priority. And I am the candidate and the only one who's saying this has to be the top priority of the United States, the organizing principle to mobilize the United States so that we can do what we've always done, lead the world and invent the future and put 8 million people to work.
Governor.
When I showed my mom the DNA results, it made her feel proud. Ancestry specifically showed the regions that my family was from.
New features, greater details, richer stories. Get your DNA kit today at Ancestry.com.
How to live. What is that balance like?
Got to bring everybody in to the decisions and the solutions to the challenges that we face. That's why we're traveling everywhere, listening to everyone. We were in Pacific Junction, a town that had never meaningfully flooded before, just up against the Missouri River in Iowa. And every home in that community had flooded. There were farms just outside of Pacific Junction that were effectively lakes. Those farmers already underwater in debt. Their markets closed to them by a trade war under this administration, and now they don't know what to do. We in our administration
Also, for those who are watching right now, I actually did post a poll in the top right of the video. So if you actually hit that eye icon, go ahead and vote in that poll that I have actually posted in the video itself.
And we're going to put farmers and ranchers in the driver's seat, renewable and sustainable agriculture to make sure that we capture more carbon out of the air and keep more of it in the soil, paying farmers for the environmental services that they want to provide. If all of us does all that we can, then we're going to be able to keep this planet from warming another 2 degrees Celsius and ensure that we match what this country can do and live up to our promise and our potential.
30 seconds, Secretary Castro. Who pays for the mitigation to climate, whether it's building seawalls, for people that are perhaps living in places that they shouldn't be living? Is this a federal government issue that needs to do that? Do they have to move these people? What do you do about that where maybe their they're building a house someplace that isn't safe. Who pays to build that house? And how much should the government be bailing them out?
Well, I don't think that that represents the vast majority of the issue. In fact, my first visit after I announced my candidacy wasn't to Iowa or New Hampshire, it was to San Juan, Puerto Rico. Because people should know that if I'm elected president, everybody will count. And I'm one of the few candidates in this race with executive experience, with a track record of getting things done. When I was mayor of San Antonio, we moved our local public utility. We began to shift it from coal-fired plants to solar and other renewables, and also created more than 800 jobs doing that. And when I was HUD secretary, we worked on the National Disaster Resilience Competition to invest in communities that were trying to rebuild from natural disasters in a sustainable way. That's the way that we're going to help make sure that we're all safer in the years to come and that we combat climate change. And if I'm elected president, the first thing that I would do, like Senator Klobuchar also has said, is sign an executive order recommitting us to the Paris Climate Accord so that we lead again.
Congressman Ryan, I got a full question for you here, which is simply this. There are a lot of the climate plans include pricing carbon, taxing carbon in some way. This type of proposal has been tried in a few places, whether it's Washington State, where voters voted it down. You've had the yellow vest movement. We had in Australia one party get rejected out of fear of the cost of climate change sort of being put on the backs of the consumer. If pricing carbon is just politically impossible, how do we pay for climate mitigation?
Well, there's a variety of different ways to pay. We talk about different ways of raising revenue, and I think we've got to build our way out of this and grow our way out of it. But let me just talk real quick to the previous question about real politics. We could talk about climate, we could talk about guns, we could talk about all of these issues that we all care about. We have a perception problem with the Democratic Party. We are not connecting to the working class people in the very states that I represent, in Ohio, in the industrial Midwest. We've lost all connection. That we have got to change the center of gravity of the Democratic Party from being coastal and elitist and Ivy League, which is the perception, to somebody from the forgotten communities that have been left behind for the last 30 years, to get those workers back on our side so we can say we're going to build electric vehicles, we're going to build solar panels. But if you want to beat Mitch McConnell, this better be a working class party if you want to go into Kentucky and take his rear end out. And if you want to take Lindsey Graham out, you got to have a blue collar party that can go into the textile communities in South Carolina. So all I'm saying here,
thank you, Congressman Ryan.
All I'm saying here,
thank you, Congressman Ryan.
So Chuck,
all I'm saying is here, if we don't address that fundamental problem with our connection to workers, white, black, brown, gay, straight, working class people, none of this is going to get done, Chuck.
Thank you very much. We're going to keep moving. Congressman Delaney, I'm going to get to you.
I introduced the only bipartisan carbon tax bill in the Congress.
All right. 30 seconds, go.
All the economists agree that a carbon pricing mechanism works. You just have to do it right. You can't put a price on carbon, raise energy prices, and not give the money back to the American people. My proposal, which is put a price on carbon, give a dividend back to the American people. It goes out one pocket, back in the other.
Thank you, Congressman.
I can get that passed my first year as president with a coalition of every Democrat in the Congress and the Republicans who live in coastal states. Because Republicans in Florida, they actually care about this issue. This has got to be our way forward if we're actually serious about this issue.
Congresswoman Gabbard, we're going to move here. One of the first things you did after launching your campaign was to issue an apology to the LGBTQ community about your past stances and statements on gay rights. After the Trump administration's rollbacks of civil rights protections for many in that community, why should voters in that community, or voters that care about this issue in general, trust you now?
Let me say that there is no one in our government at any level who has the right to tell any American who they should be allowed to love or who they should be allowed to marry. My record in Congress for over 6 years shows my commitment to fighting for LGBTQ equality. I serve on the Equality Caucus and recently voted for passage of the Equality Act. Maybe many people in this country can relate to the fact that I grew up in a socially conservative home, held views when I was very young that I no longer hold today. I've served with LGBTQ service members, both in training and deployed downrange. I know that they would give their life for me, and I would give my life for them. It is this commitment that I'll carry through as President of the United States, recognizing that there are still people who are facing discrimination in the workplace, still people who are unable to find a home for their families. It is this kind of discrimination that we need to address.
But it's not enough. It's
Thank
not
you,
enough.
Congresswoman.
If I can add to this, it's very important.
30
because
seconds,
this is not
Senator.
enough. Look, civil rights is some place to begin, but in the African American civil rights community, another place to focus on was to stop the lynching of African Americans. We do not talk enough about trans Americans, especially African American trans Americans, and the incredibly high rates of murder right now. We don't talk enough about how many children, about 30% of LGBTQ kids, who do not go to school because of fear. It's not enough just to be on the Equality Act. I'm an original co-sponsor. We need to have a president that will fight to protect LGBTQ Americans every single day from violence.
Thank you, Senator Booker.
Senator Klobuchar, let me put this to you. On the issue of civil rights, for decades, on the issue of civil rights and demographics, honestly, and politics, for decades, the Democratic Party has counted on African American voter turnout as step one to winning elections on a national level. Democrats are counting on the Latino community now and in the future in the same way. What have you done for Black and Latino voters that should enthuse them about going to the polls for you if you're your party's nominee?
My life and my career and my work in the Senate has been about economic opportunity. And to me, this means better child care for everyone in this country. And when you want to have an economy that works, you need to have retirement that works. You need to have public schools that work. And you also need to make sure that those communities are able to get those jobs of the future, the STEM jobs. In fact, Donald Trump, one of the first bills that he signed, of the 34 he signed where I was the lead Democrat, okay, that's a first up here, was one that was about that, making sure minority community members could share in those jobs. So to me, this is about a few things. It's about an African-American woman that goes to a hospital in New Orleans, says her hands are swollen, and then doctor ignores her and her baby dies. It's about the fact that African-American women make 61 cents for every dollar a white man makes. So in short, we need to, one, and I will do this in my first 100 days as president, we will work to make sure everyone can vote at this table. Everyone can vote in this country. And we will also go to the next step of criminal justice reform. Senator Booker and I worked on that First Step Act, but we should go to the Second Step Act, which is to help all our communities across.
Senator, thank you very much. 30-second follow-up to you. Secretary Castro, this is a 70% Latino city here in Miami. You are the only Latino Democrat who is running this year in the presidential race. Is that enough of an answer? What Senator Klobuchar is describing there, an economic justice agenda, is that enough to mobilize Latino voters to stand with the Democratic Party in a big way?
Well, I also think that we have to recognize racial and social justice. And, you know, I was in Charleston not too long ago, and I remembered that Dylan Roof went to the Mother Emanuel AME Church, and he murdered 9 people who were worshiping, and then he was apprehended by police without incident. Well, but what about Eric Garner and Tamir Rice and Laquan McDonald and Sandra Bland and Pamela Turner and Antonio Arce? I'm proud that I'm the only candidate so far that has put forward legislation that would reform our policing system in America and make sure that no matter what the color of your skin is, that you're treated the same, including Latinos who are mistreated too oftentimes by police.
Secretary Castro, thank you.
Let me go over to Lester Holt, who's got a question, I believe, a viewer question.
I'm over here, Chuck. Thanks. We ask voters from across the country to submit their questions to the candidates. Let me read one now. This comes from John in New York, who submitted this question. He asks, does the United States have a responsibility to protect? In the case of genocide or crimes against humanity, do we have a responsibility to intervene, to protect people threatened by their governments, even when atrocities do not affect American core interests? I'd like to direct that question to Congressman O'Rourke.
John, I appreciate the question. The answer is yes, but that action should always be undertaken with allies and partners and friends. When the United States presents a united front, we have a much better chance of achieving our foreign policy aims and preventing the kind of genocide to which you refer, the kind of genocide that we saw in Rwanda, the kind of genocide we want to stop going forward. But unfortunately, under this administration, President Trump has alienated our allies and our friends and our alliances. He's diminished our standing in the world, and he's made us weaker as a country, less able to confront challenges, whether it's Iran or North Korea or Vladimir Putin in Russia, who attacked and invaded our democracy in 2016, and who President Trump has offered another invitation to do the same. He's embraced strongmen and dictators at the expense of the great democracies. As president, I will make sure that we live our values in our foreign policy. I will ensure that we strengthen those alliances and partnerships and friendships and meet any challenge that we face together. That makes America stronger.
What about the War Powers Act?
Congressman O'Rourke, thank you.
What about the War Powers Act being a part of that equation, with deep respect to the congressman? Look, we've learned of painful lessons as Americans, that we've gone to war without congressional authorization. And look, this is very personal for me. I know the cost of war. My dad served in the Pacific in World War II in the U.S. Army. Battle of Okinawa, had half his leg blown off, and he came home with scars, both physical and emotional, and he did not recover. He spiraled downward, and he ultimately took his own life. And that battle didn't kill him, but that war did. And look, even in the humanitarian crisis, and I think we should be ready, Congressman, to intervene. God forbid there is a genocide, but not without congressional approval. Democrats and Republicans, both in the Congress, have not challenged presidents and have let them get away with running the military without the congressional approval. We learned a lesson in Vietnam we seem to have forgotten. The decisions have to be made by the United States Congress.
I want to pick up on this point, and I want to put this to Congressman Ryan. Today, the Taliban claimed responsibility for killing 2 American service members in Afghanistan. Leaders as disparate as President Obama and President Trump have both said that they want to end U.S. involvement in Afghanistan. But it isn't over for America. Why isn't it over? Why can't presidents of very different parties and very different temperaments get us out of there? And how could you?
I appreciate that question. So I've been in Congress 17 years, and 12 of those years I've sat on the Armed Services Committee, either the Defense Appropriations Committee or the Armed Services Committee. And the lesson that I've learned over the years is that you have to stay engaged in these situations. Nobody likes it. It's long. It's tedious. But right now we have, so I would say we must be engaged in this. We must have our State Department engaged. We must have our military engaged to the extent they need to be. But the reality of it is this president doesn't even have people appointed in the State Department to deal with these things. Whether we're talking about Central America, whether we're talking about Iran, whether we're talking about Afghanistan, we've got to be completely engaged. And here's why. Because these flare-ups distract us from the real problems in the country. If getting drones shot down for $130 million because the president is distracted, that's $130 million that we could be spending in places like Youngstown, Ohio, or Flint, Michigan, or rebuilding.
Congresswoman Gabbard, I'm going to give you 30 seconds, actually, to jump off what he said. He described engagement as the problem.
Is that what you will tell the parents of those 2 soldiers who were just killed in Afghanistan? Well, we just have to be engaged. As a soldier, I will tell you that answer is unacceptable. We have to bring our troops home from Afghanistan. We are in a place in Afghanistan where we have lost so many lives. We've spent so much money, money that's coming out of every one of our pockets, money that should be going into communities here at home, meeting the needs of the people here at home. We are no better off in Afghanistan today than we were when this war began. This is why it's so important to have a president and commander-in-chief who knows the cost of war and who's ready to do the job on day one. I am ready to do that job when I walk into the Oval Office. Thank you very much.
Listen, I'm going to go down the line. I'm going to go down the line here. Well, you know what? You felt like she was responding. You get 30 seconds. Go.
Good man.
Fair enough.
I appreciate that.
I hear what you're saying.
I would just say I don't want to be engaged. I wish we were spending all this money in places that I've represented that have been completely forgotten and we were rebuilding. But the reality of it is, if the United States isn't engaged, the Taliban will grow and they will have bigger, bolder terrorist acts. We have got to have some present there.
The Taliban was there long before we came in. They'll be there long before we leave.
Well,
we cannot keep U.S. troops deployed to Afghanistan thinking that we're going to somehow squash this Taliban that has been there, that every other country that's tried has failed.
I didn't say squash them. When we weren't in there, they started flying planes into our buildings. So I'm just saying right now,
we have an obligation. The Taliban didn't attack us on 9/11. Al-Qaeda did.
Well, I understand.
Al-Qaeda attacked us on 9/11.
I understand.
That's why I and so many other people joined the military to go after Al-Qaeda, not the Taliban.
the
Go ahead, Congressman, finish up 10
was
seconds.
protecting those people who were plotting against us. All I'm saying is, if we want to go into elections and we want to say that we got to withdraw from the world, that's what President Trump is saying. We can't. I would love for us to.
You know who's protecting Al-Qaeda right now in Saudi Arabia?
I want to go down the line here, finish up foreign policy. It's a simple question. What is the biggest threat to, who is the geopolitical threat to the United States? Just give me a one-word answer, Congressman Delaney.
Could you repeat the question?
Greatest geopolitical threat to the United States right now, Congressman Delaney?
Well, the biggest geopolitical challenge is China, but the biggest geopolitical threat remains nuclear weapons.
Okay.
Right? So those are, different questions.
Totally get it. Go ahead, Governor Inslee.
The biggest threat to the security of the United States is Donald Trump, and there's no question.
Congresswoman Gabbard.
The
greatest geopolitical threat.
The greatest threat that we face is the fact that we are at a greater risk of nuclear war today than ever before in history.
Senator
Two
Klobuchar.
threats, economic threat, China, but our major threat right now is what's going on in the Mideast with Iran if we don't get our
Try to keep it at one, slimmer than what we've been going here. One or two words.
Our existential threat is climate change. We have to confront it before it's too late.
Senator Warren.
Climate change.
Yeah, Senator Booker.
Nuclear proliferation and climate change.
Secretary Castro.
Say China and climate change.
Congressman Ryan.
China, without a question, they're wiping us around the world economically.
And Mr. Mayor.
Russia, because they're trying to undermine our democracy, and they've been doing a pretty damn good job of it, and we need to stop them.
All right, well, thank you for that wide variety of answers, and I mean that. No, I mean that that's what this debate is about. This is the best part of a debate like this. Congressman O'Rourke. Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report outlines multiple instances of potential criminal behavior by President Trump. House Speaker Pelosi has publicly and privately resisted any move toward impeachment in the House. If the House chooses not to impeach, as president, would you do anything to address the potential crimes that were outlined in Mr. Mueller's report?
Yes, and I'll tell you why.
How, by the way, if the answer is yes?
One of the most powerful pieces of art in the United States Capitol is the Trumbull painting of General George Washington resigning his commission to the Continental Congress, at the height of his power, submitting to the rule of law and the will of people. That has withstood the test of time for the last 243 years. If we set another precedent now, that a candidate who invited the participation of a foreign power, a president who sought to obstruct the investigation into the invasion of our democracy, if we allow him to get away with this with complete impunity, then we will have set a new standard, and that is that some people, because of the position of power and public trust that they hold, are above the law. And we cannot allow that to stand. So we must begin impeachment now so that we have the facts and the truth, and we follow them as far as they go and as high up as they reach, and we save this democracy. And if we've not been able to do that in this year or the year that follows, and under my administration, our Department of Justice will pursue these facts and ensure that there are consequences, there is accountability, and there is justice. It's the only way that we save this country.
Thank you, Congressman O'Rourke.
Congressman Delaney, because of the accountability issues that Congressman O'Rourke was just describing there, and the real political landscape in which Nancy Pelosi is saying that impeachment will not be pursued in the House, it raises the prospect, and the Mueller report raises the prospect, that President Trump could be prosecuted for some of those potential crimes down the line. No U.S. president has ever been prosecuted for crimes after leaving office. Do you believe that President Trump could or should be the first?
I guess there's always a first.
Should he be?
I don't think anyone's above the law. I don't think anyone is above the law, including a president. I support Speaker Pelosi's decisions that she's making in the House of Representatives right now as Speaker. I think she knows more about the decision as to whether to impeach the president than any of the 2020 candidates combined.
Conceded.
So, but I do think no one's above the law, and this president, who is lawless, should not be above the law. But I will tell you, Rachel, the one thing when you're out doing as much campaigning as I've done, 400 events, all 99 counties in Iowa, this is not the #1 issue the American people ask us about. It's not. They want to know what we're going to do for health care, how we're going to lower pharmaceutical prices, how we're going to build infrastructure, what we're going to do to create jobs in their communities. You know, last year in our country, 80% of the money for startup businesses went to 50 counties in this country. There's over 3,000 counties in this country. That's what they care about. They care about what's going on in the public schools. They care about what's going on with jobs in their communities, with their pay, with their health care, with infrastructure. These are the issues. These kind of kitchen table, pocketbook issues are actually what most Americans care about. They never ask about the Mueller report.
Your time is up.
They never ask about it. They want to know how we're going to solve these problems.
Time, sir.
Here's the thing. I still, Senator,
if we let the Republicans run our elections, and if we do not do something about Russian interference in the election, and we let Mitch McConnell stop all the backup paper ballots, then we're not going to get what we want to do.
I got to sneak in. We blew through a break, which was good news to give you more time, so I got to sneak one in now. More of this debate. It's picking up here. It continues right after this.
We are going to start with something different tonight. This is one of those things that you have not been otherwise hearing about in the news, but stick with me.
All right. That's one hell of a watch, Chiefs. If you guys want to tell me how y'all are thinking about this, what do you guys think about what's going on? What do you think about the candidates, and what are your thoughts on people like Beto, on Cory Booker, on Klobuchar, etc.? Just go ahead and leave your comments in the live stream, and I'm going to be reading through them. But yeah, I actually really like how silent I've been instead of just, being annoying. But yeah, go ahead and give me your thoughts in the description, guys.
Nevada, caucuses in Nevada. That's the next one. And then the big one, obviously, the South Carolina primary, the first in the South primary at the end of the month. And of course, South Carolina, very important because this is the first state where you're going to have a really substantial black population voting. 60%, more than 60% of the Democratic electorate in the 2016 South Carolina primary was African American. So a key test there. 4 individual contests. We'll talk only about these states the nights they come in. That's going to be February, but then flip the calendar. From the last day of February, look at this. Go into March, just a couple days later, Super Tuesday. Super Tuesday, let me give you a sense of what that looks like. Massive, enormous. You go from one contest at a time, all in the same. You got California, you got Texas, you got a bunch in the South, you got Massachusetts, Minnesota, all of these states, all at once. So February is going to produce some clarity in terms of who's a contender. Super Tuesday, mega primary. That could give us some real answers potentially in early March.
I've been fighting these companies my whole life.
Green coat can cause cancer. They hid that. So that's where the law comes in.
If you fight for what's right, you can change the world.
The Today Show has an updated mobile app. Catch up on segments from the show that you missed. You can watch our digital original videos, shop our favorite deals. All you have to do is text today to 66866. Simple, and download.
The first presidential debate of the 2020 election. A 2-night event. Wednesday, June 26th and Thursday, June 27th. Live from Miami on NBC, MSNBC, Telemundo, and NBC News Now.
Don't miss night 2 of the Democratic debate as 10 more candidates battle it out. Tomorrow at 9 Eastern on NBC, MSNBC, and Telemundo.
Closing statements. Each candidate has 45 seconds. We want to begin with former Congressman Delaney.
Closing now?
Closing.
Okay.
45 seconds. we could go on.
Together we are on a mission. We're on a mission to find the America that's been lost. Lost through infighting, lost through inaction. We're so much better than this. We're a country that used to do things. We saved the world. We created the American dream for millions of people like myself, the grandson of immigrants, the son of a union electrician who went on to become a successful business leader and create thousands of jobs. But we did these things with real solutions, not with impossible promises. And those are the roots that we have to get back to. I'm running for president to solve these problems, to build infrastructure, to fix our broken healthcare system, to invest in communities that have been left behind, to improve public education. I just don't want to be your president to be your president.
Your 45 seconds
I want to be your president to do the job.
Thank you,
This
sir.
is not about me. This is about getting America working again.
Thank you.
Mayor de Blasio, Mayor, your closing statement.
It matters. It matters in this fight for the heart and soul of our party that we nominate a candidate who has seen the face of poverty and didn't just talk about it, but gave people $15 minimum wage. It matters that we nominate a candidate who saw the destruction wrought by a broken health care system and gave people universal health care. It matters that we choose someone who saw the wasted potential of our children denied pre-K and gave it to every single one of them for free. These things really matter. And these are the things that I've done in New York, and I want to do the same for this whole country. Because putting working people first, it matters. We need to be that party again. Let's work together. With your help, we can put working people first again in America.
Thank you, Mayor de Blasio. Right on time.
Governor Inslee, 45 seconds.
Trinity and I have 3 grandchildren. We love them all. And when I was thinking about whether to run for president, I made a decision. I decided that on my last day on earth, I wanted to look them in the eye and tell them I did everything humanly possible to protect them from the ravages of the climate crisis. And I know to a moral certainty, if we do not have the next president who commits to this as the top priority, it won't get done. And I am the only candidate, frankly, I'm surprised. I'm the only candidate who's made this commitment to make it the top priority. If you join me in that recognition of how important this is, we can have a unified national mission. We can save ourselves. We can save our children. We can save our grandchildren. And we can save literally the life on this planet. This is our moment.
Governor, thank you.
Congressman Ryan, your 45 seconds.
There's nothing worse than not being heard. Nothing worse than not being seen, and I know that because I've represented for 17 years in Congress a forgotten community. They've tried to divide us, who's white, who's black, who's gay, who's straight, who's a man, who's a woman, and they ran away with all the gold because they divided the working class. It's time for us to come together. I don't know how you feel, but I'm ready to play some offense. I come from the middle of industrial America, but these problems are all over our country. There's a tent city in LA, there's homeless people, and people around our country who can't afford a home. It's time for us to get back on track. The teacher in Texas, the nurse in New Hampshire, the waitress in Wisconsin, all of us coming together, playing offense with an agenda that lifts everybody up.
Thank you,
I will only promise you one thing. When I walk into that Oval Office every morning, you will not be forgotten. Your voice will be heard. Thank you.
Congresswoman Gabbard, you have 45 seconds for your closing.
You know, our nation was founded on the principles of service above self. People who fled kings who literally prospered on the backs and the sacrifices of people. Coming here to this country, instead putting in place a government that is of, by, and for the people. But that's not what we have. Instead, we have a government that is of, by, and for the rich and powerful. This must end. As president, our White House will be a beacon of light, providing hope and opportunity, ushering in a new century where every single person will be able to get the health care they need, where we will have clean air to breathe and clean water to drink, where we will have good-paying jobs in a new green economy. Join me in ushering in this new century with peace, prosperity, opportunity, and justice for all.
Congresswoman, thank you.
Secretary Castro, you have 45 seconds, sir.
Me llamo Julian Castro y estoy postulando por presidente de los Estados Unidos. The very fact that I can say that tonight shows the progress that we have made in this country. Like many of you, I know the promise of America, My grandmother came here when she was 7 years old as an immigrant from Mexico. And just 2 generations later, one of her grandsons is serving in the United States Congress, and the other one is running for president of the United States. If I'm elected president, I will work hard every single day so that you and your family can get good health care, your child can get a good education, and that you can have good job opportunities, whether you live in a big city or a small town. And on January 20th, 2021, we'll say adios to Donald Trump.
Senator Klobuchar, the floor is yours.
3 things to know about me. First, I listen to people, and that's how I get things done. That is my focus. I have a track record of passing over 100 bills where I'm the lead Democrat, and that is because I listened and I acted. And I think that's important in a president. Everything else just melts away. Secondly, I'm someone that can win and beat Donald Trump. I have won every place, every race, and every time. I have won in the reddest of districts, ones that Donald Trump won by over 20 points. I can win in states like Wisconsin and Iowa and in Michigan. And finally, yeah, I am not the establishment party candidate. I've got respect, but I'm not that person. I am the one that doesn't have a political machine, that doesn't come from money. And I don't make all the promises that everyone up here makes, but I can promise you this. I am going to govern with integrity, I'm going to have your back, and I'm going to govern for you.
Thank you, Senator.
Senador Booker, sus 45 segundos.
Gracias. 50 years ago this month, my family moved into the town I grew up in because after being denied a house because of the color of their skin, it was activists, mostly white activists, that stood up and fought for them. That's the best of who we are as America, and why when I got out of law school, I moved into the inner city of Newark to fight as a tenant lawyer for other people's rights. I've taken on bullies and beat them. I've taken on tough fights, and we've won. And we win those fights not by showing the worst of who we are, but rising to who's best. Donald Trump wants us to fight him on his turf and his terms. We will beat him. I will beat him by calling this country to a sense of common purpose again. This is a referendum on him and getting rid of him, but it's also a referendum on us, who we are and who we must be to each other. It's time we win this election, and the way I'll govern is by showing the best of who we are, because that's what this country needs and deserves.
Thank you. Congressman O'Rourke, 45 seconds.
Our daughter Molly turned 11 this week. I'm on this stage for her, for children across this country, including some her same age who've been separated from their parents and are sleeping on concrete floors under aluminum blankets tonight. If we're going to be there for them, if we're going to confront the challenges that we face, we can't return to the same old approach. We're going to need a new kind of politics, one directed by the urgency of the next generation. Those climate activists who are fighting not just for their future, but for everyone's. Those students marching not just for their lives, but for all of ours. We'll need a movement like the one that we led in Texas. It renewed our democracy by bringing everyone in and writing nobody off. That's how we beat Donald Trump. That's how we bring this great country together again. Join us. This is our moment, and the generations that follow are counting on us to meet it.
Thank you, Congressman.
Senator Warren, you have 45 seconds for the final statement of the evening.
Thank you. It's a great honor to be here. Never in a million years did I think I would stand on a stage like this. I was born and raised in Oklahoma. I have 3 older brothers. They all joined the military. I had a dream growing up, and my dream was to be a public school teacher. By the time I graduated from high school, my family didn't have the money for a college application, much less a chance for me to go to college. But I got my chance. It was a $50 a semester commuter college. That was a little slice of government that created some opportunity for a girl, and it opened my life. I am in this fight because I believe that we can make our government, we can make our economy, we can make our country work, not just for those at the top. We can make it work for everyone, and I promise you this, I will fight for you as hard as I fight for my own family.
We would like to thank all of the candidates who participated with us tonight, and that will do it for night 1 of this 2-night event. And guess what? We've got 10 more candidates tomorrow night.
We certainly hope you will join us then, but for now, that concludes our coverage of this first Democratic debate from Miami. For Savannah, Jose, Chuck, and Rachel, I'm Lester Holt. Have a good night, everyone.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Morgan Radford, and welcome to special post-debate coverage of the first Democratic debate of the 2020 election cycle right here on NBC News Now. We just wrapped up night one of the first Democratic debate, and we've got a lot to talk about. The top four frontrunners going into tonight were in the top five.
All right, guys, that was the 2020 Democratic presidential debate night one. That is the first 10 people of a two-night event of the next possible president of the United States that is going to, that all these people, there's so many people, so they got 20 people that they're actually letting on the debate stage. And so that was night one of the first presidential debate of the 2020 election season. So that means that 2020 has officially kicked off in the middle of 2019, and I want to hear you guys' thoughts on it. Let me know in the live chat what you guys thought of the debate. The whole section that I actually recorded was the second part of the actual debate. Sorry I did not get the entire debate. I will possibly get the entire debate tomorrow, which I will be co-hosted by Backstar and possibly my girlfriend Caitlin. So make sure to join me tomorrow for that live stream. In other news, I will be joined by Backstar right now. So without further ado, I will be welcoming Backstar as soon as he is ready, as we are already in a Discord call. So Backstar, once you're ready, what is your thoughts on the debate tonight?
Well, having doing about 8 things at once and trying to...
Why is my thing doing it? Shit, it's going through the...
yeah. Get the damn shit right.
Yeah, just like MSNBC. All right, go ahead and repeat that again.
You know, having watched the kitty table debate, I thought it was all right. I didn't understand the parts where they were speaking Spanish. I guess they're trying to appeal to the Latino community.
Very much so.
But the biggest thing that you got to understand about the Democratic primary is you have to appeal to African Americans. If you can win the African American vote, you pretty much then won the Democratic Democratic nomination. Because I don't know the specific statistic, but I heard it was like at least a fourth, 25% or more of these ballots that are cast will be African Americans. Now, I don't know what these. I don't know where African Americans think about these candidates because they really didn't say much that will greatly affect African Americans. You gotta see what the polling looked like.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and try to see if I can get any polling on that, but I feel like MSNBC is gonna have a poll on it afterward.
No, you'll see a poll after the second debate because that will allow everyone to have heard what everyone has to say, and everyone can speak Spanish and French, and we can have a big old party and all that. But I mean, the debate was all right. It was not as boring as I thought it was going to be.
It was really boring whenever I joined in on it. I think around until about like maybe 20 minutes ago, it didn't really kick off until then.
The problem is...
Just to make sure, for those who are watching, can you guys hear Backstar and his answers? Go ahead and let me know. But anyway, continue.
I think that the biggest problem that I see is the beginning of the debate, the way the debate is structured. When you have a debate and when you talk about a specific issue, such as healthcare, and you sit up here and say, okay, well, everyone, everyone can't speak on this issue is ridiculous, in my opinion, because it makes no sense to have a debate and to present these candidates when not everyone can speak on the particular issue. So I think instead of them doing 2 nights and having all these candidates, they should have done it in a span of 5 days and have multiple debates so that everyone can hear the policies. I mean, done it
All right, now I'm trying to fix the audio issue going on. People said that I'm too loud and you're too low, but I fixed you. Yeah, having 10 people on a debate stage is really, it's really odd. And it really didn't work whenever the Republican debate was happening back in 2016. And they're just making the same mistake again right now.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's basically kind of it. I wasn't really going to go on after it.
When you have, I mean, there's more than that. Everyone need to understand now. Everyone, listen up. There's more than 20 people that's running for the Democratic Party. These 20 people just made the requirement to stand on the stage. Now, if you look at this room right here, or all these people taking pictures and all that, I've seen a lot of African American, and I'm stress this again. In order to win the Democratic nomination, you don't look at the white voters. You don't look at as the Latino. You have to look at African Americans. If you can win the black vote, you pretty much done won the nomination, and that's one of the reasons why Bernie Sanders.
It would have to be a combination, I believe, though.
I mean, yeah, it could be a combination, but without it's if you have whites and Latinos and whites and whatever the biggest thing in order to win the nomination is you have to win black voters. No, none of the candidates will talk about anime. Who wants to talk about that? But tomorrow probably more entertaining because you actually have people, the popular candidates on the debate stage, and I want to hear what the other candidates have to say.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be doing a full live stream tomorrow. Maybe we will be joined by Caitlin. I definitely want you in there. But definitely going to be doing a live stream tomorrow of it. Might be doing a Power and Revolution live stream right after this. I'm going to go ahead and just since this is over, I'm going to go ahead and ask you a couple of questions because since that is over, and then we can go ahead and get onto it tomorrow. I want to, since a lot of people are watching right now, I want to get there. I want to show them like how you think and stuff like that because I really kind of want to make you a co-host more in my live streams, especially like this, especially whenever 2020 comes around. Definitely want you in there. So what is your opinion on things like Donald Trump? Because the deficit right now is $1.015 trillion, and I know we have discussed this a couple of times. And I want some people in the chat to go ahead and ask a couple of questions. But what is your opinion on that? What do you think can be changed to help the deficit?
On the deficit?
Yeah.
Well, when you cut taxes and at the same time increase defense spending, you're going to have a deficit of $1 trillion. I mean, that I knew that. I knew the deficit was going up the minute that tax bill was signed. This is the president's economic policy is the same economic policy that Reagan used in the 80s. Now, my whole thing about trickle-down economics or Reaganomics or supply-side economics or whatever term you want to use, I think, in my opinion, it don't work because you're cutting taxes. I mean, yeah, you can cut taxes for these corporations, but a lot of these corporations are giving this money back to the shareholders and giving their executives big raises and yada yada yada. So they're not, that money's not going down to. Now, some companies will invest in companies and build their companies and bring that down to the consumer. But again, it depends on the company. I don't see how a president guy who has said he's a art of the deal and all that yada yada stuff sit up here, get in office, and take a deficit which was $500 billion or $540 billion and nearly double it within 3 years. I just,
I'm checking the New York Times right now, and there's some post-debate chat op-eds going on. There's 3 opinions that are actually happening right now. I was impressed by Cory Booker and Cory Booker's side eye, and to my surprise, Amy Klobuchar. And then another person said Warren started solid, but then weirdly vanished in the second half. Castro and Booker exceeded my expectations. Beto did not look ready for prime time. And then someone said Warren probably won the first hour. Beto definitely lost tonight. What are your thoughts on that?
Like I said, as far as who won the debate and all that, I mean, I really can't go into it. I liked, particularly when they moved on to what was it, the military and troops. I like Tulsi Gabbard's input because she is a active duty. Isn't she active duty or in the National Guard? She's in the military. Let's just say that she's in the military, and I liked her response. I like, and see, this is the thing. I mean, you really can't say who won and who lost because
I know I hate it whenever people say that because all of them have a really shitty time.
And see, you got none of these candidates. I mean, this is the first debate, and a lot of these people.
How many debates are they planning?
I don't know. It's probably going to be like the Republicans. They'll have one couple weeks from now or something. But a lot of these candidates, like Beto and Tulsi and Klobuchar and the dude Delaney from Maryland, these people have never been in a national spotlight like this.
Oh yeah, especially Beto. I knew Beto was gonna have a really hard time. I honestly, and I think that was one of the first things that he did was he actually one of the first moments that he had in the first Democratic debate is he just starts speaking Spanish.
And see, I understand you're trying to appeal to the Latinos.
I understand that too, but it really irks me.
You know, at least he's fluent in Spanish because I've heard some Spanish over the years that said I'm a wet taco or something like that, and he was supposed to mean vote for me.
I understand when you're trying to be so I understand it's good that you're fluent in Spanish, and I completely think that's a good thing. But honestly, there was a comment earlier in the live stream whenever I was watching the live chat, and someone said it sounds really, he says it's good that they're speaking like that, and I'm trying to find a comment now. It's good that they're speaking like that, but it just sounds really condescending. And I'm not anywhere close to Mexican or Latino. I'm 95% white. But the thing is that and I know it's kind of weird, a white man speaking like this. If someone were to speak to me like that, trying to get my vote, I feel like it would just be really condescending, and I really wouldn't like it. Because I feel like it's also pandering as well. Sorry.
I think another reason why they were speaking Spanish was because this debate was also live on Telemundo, which as everyone in the United States, or if you don't know, Telemundo is one of the biggest,
the largest Spanish speaking network in the United States.
Yeah. So now I didn't watch the Telemundo channel.
I've watched it a couple of times. I actually saw a reporter whenever I went to a protest.
I don't know if they translated it on Telemundo or what, but
they would have to.
I think another reason why they spoke Spanish was because of Telemundo. But see, here's the thing: is when you speak Spanish. Now I have nothing against Latinos, but my thing about it is you're speaking Spanish, so you only have 30 seconds to rebuttal. You have 60 seconds to answer the questions and 30 seconds to rebuttal. When you start speaking Spanish, you're taking up your rebuttal time because you're going to spend 15 to 20 seconds saying what you're saying in Spanish, and then you're going to have to spend another 10 seconds and 15 seconds to translate that to English so everyone else can. So I'm like, you're wasting your time because because you have 10 people on the stage and they want everyone to get heard. And, it's just a big pain in the butt. Like I said, I don't like the way the DNC is doing the debates. I think you can't put 10 people on the stage and then you're going to sit up here and say that the beginning of the night, not every candidate is not going to have an input on the specific topic. That's ridiculous. Because how can you sit up here and say, okay, Elizabeth, what's your opinion on healthcare? Then you go to Corey, and then you go to someone, and then you leave out someone like Delaney, who no one knows about. No one know who. I mean, I guarantee you, this is the first time that a lot of people have seen or heard of John Delaney.
Well, didn't he run in 2016?
No, he announced his candidacy in 2017. So he's been. I mean, he was the first Democrat to actively campaign for president. So, but my whole theory is you cannot call this a debate, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to sit here and say we cannot go to everyone's opinion, then you don't put 10 people on the stage, then put 5 people on the stage. Because, I mean, instead of doing 2 nights, you can divide it up into 4 nights and have 5 people on the stage. That way it will be more equal. Everyone will have a better chance of getting heard, and you won't have people like what was his name? There was several people that was trying de Blasio. I mean, they left out de Blasio, so he got to the point where he just started giving his input because no one was coming to him.
Oh yeah, I know. De Blasio definitely seemed like he was not getting the attention that he wanted, and it was honestly really, really entertaining to watch.
I may not support de Blasio, but I think everybody should have the opportunity to hear what Bill de Blasio has to say, just like everyone should have the opportunity to hear what Elizabeth Warren has to say. But
which honestly, it seems more like that's the thing about like some of these debates, especially some of these larger debates that we have. They don't care, and the establishment doesn't care. This is why they screwed up in 2016 because they prefer the candidates that a lot of people want to see. They don't want to give attention to some of these lower candidates like Julian Castro, things like that. I know for a fact that probably Elizabeth Warren and Klobuchar and Beto had more screen time because they're the most popular ones. You don't hear about Delaney. You don't hear about Tim Ryan. Like Tim Ryan did the worst. Oh my God, I could not watch him.
I need to ask this question: did he really get up in front of the American people and say, or made the assumption that the Taliban flew planes into the World Trade Center?
Did anyone ever bring that up, or was that just him?
Yeah, they broke because they was talking about they got on about Afghanistan and how we're over there and we need to bring our troops home.
No. Did someone bring it up? Like, did someone try to correct him, or did he just say it without being corrected?
I think from what I heard, because to me it sounded like he said the Taliban flew planes into the World Trade Center. Then Gabbard. No. Then Gabbard got on and said, no, it was it was Al Qaeda.
What he tried to say, and I know what he was saying, and I caught it. He probably said it in a really shitty way. He basically said like that what we don't need to do is we don't need to be retracting ourselves from the world because that's what Donald Trump's trying to do. And the last time we retracted ourselves from the world, they flew planes into the Twin Towers. That's what he said.
Well,
so he was trying to take a stance against. Sorry for interrupting. He was trying to take a stance against Donald Trump and him being against the world, like the European Union, stuff like that, about being America first. He was trying to take a stance against that, and then, ended up making the assumption that the Taliban flew planes into the World Trade Center, which they obviously didn't.
Well, I think that, again, Tim Ryan, congressman from Ohio, again, a lot of these candidates have never, in fact, none of these candidates, none of them, have ever been on a debate stage like this before. I think the only candidate out of the entire 20 that has actually been on the debate stage on a Democratic presidential nominee debate is Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, that's who I'm looking forward to.
And see, tomorrow is going to be extremely entertaining because
very much
you have the top establishment Democrat, Joe Biden, going up against the I don't want to call him radical, but going up against the anti-establishment Democrat, Bernie Sanders. And that's going to be a big problem there because you're going to have, it's just going to be between Biden and Sanders. That's it. You're not going to hear much from Buttigieg. You're not going to hear much from Harris. You're not going to hear much from whoever the hell else is on that stage. It's going to be between Biden and Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole thing is, why not just give them a debate of their own? Make it a 3-day shindig.
They want they want like a very small amount of time so they can say, okay, this is when you have to watch, and
and also what they're trying to do is they're not trying to do what the Republicans did with that kiddie table bull job in 2016, but they're doing it now. They just did it because I guarantee you, tomorrow, whenever the ratings come out, more people would have watched tomorrow's debate than tonight's debate.
Yeah, they're not going to hype they're not going to hype tonight up as much as it should have been. But honestly, isn't Andrew Yang supposed to be in tomorrow?
Yeah.
Cool.
You're not going to hear nothing from him. He's going to sit up and talk about his bull job platform of $1,000 universal basic income, which is not even possible in this country. So, and all I can say is what I think needs to happen is you get just take Biden and take Sanders and put them on their own stage, and then you just have Yang and Harris and all the other people debate tomorrow.
Hey, what's going on, Oceana? Welcome to the live stream.
But yeah, nobody watched that, so I think this whole process is just confusing because.
Hey, go ahead and join my my actual server, and I'm gonna go ahead and invite a couple of people into the voice chat, and then we're gonna talk about it there, so there's more input instead from just me and you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, for those watching right now, go ahead and join my server that I've posted in the live chat below. I know there's only 8 people watching right now, but that's a perfect amount of people to actually put in and give some input for what your thoughts on the debate is and what your thoughts about 2020 are. So go ahead and everyone join the voice channel in Discord right now on that link that I posted in the live chat below, and I will be waiting to hear from you. But yeah, so as far as you know, do you still have a preference, or do you still support a certain someone?
I still support Pete Buttigieg. I think that Buttigieg is I've been saying this for the longest. I think the Democratic Party needs a new face. Because we need more younger people leading the party, because we've seen where the current generation, the baby boomers, have led the party, and they've led us to the damn toilet, right? So I think we need that young generation to come in, see what they can do, take over the mantle of leadership, and I'm still going to support Pete Buttigieg.
Mm-hmm. Now, that's another thing. Is it right to assume and blame baby boomers for all of the situations going on right now, or should the new generation that's taking the mantle, should they just, instead of playing the blame game that we've always been playing, should they say, okay, we're going to go ahead and like all these things have happened, like what do you think should happen with that? Because I've heard that argument before. I've heard that argument before where basically everyone always loves to blame baby boomers and say, okay, well, like, you know, boomer humor, stuff like that. And then they say, oh, yeah, the baby boomers are the ones who put us in a situation. But then they don't provide an actual solution to what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I think needs to happen, see, when I talk about what the baby boomers done, I always have a action plan. Okay. What we need to do is, number one,
boomer bar.
the first thing that needs to happen is all this bullshit, all this about blaming the baby boomers has got to stop.
I hate that's one of the most annoying things to me, honestly.
It's not going to fix anything. We still have 28 million Americans or so, roughly 28 million Americans without health insurance. Okay, we got people in this country that's got student loan debt up to their necks. Okay, and we need to fix this. Blaming what the baby boomers and everybody and all them people have done ain't gonna fix it. It's not gonna get people health care. It's not gonna fix the student loan situation.
Now, I'm looking at some polls right now for the 2020 election. So we have about 5 different polls that are coming out for Trump versus this person. So they have Biden, Sanders, Harris, Warren, and Buttigieg. Harris and Buttigieg lead Trump by 4 points, 52 to 48, respectfully. Warren beats them by about 2 points, where she's leading over Trump by 6 points, and then Sanders and Biden are leading by 10 points. This is all an Emerson poll. What are your thoughts?
Can you send me the poll so I can look at it?
Sure. This is on Real Clear Politics. Let me go ahead. Why am I having so much difficulties right now? I'm retarded. All right, I'm just sending it to you now. That's it. And then we also have Rasmussen. I don't know if Rasmussen is like the best to cite, but Booker versus Trump. Trump leads by 2 points. A North Carolina poll says that Trump leads Warren, Buttigieg, and Harris by several points in several of them. Trump leads Harris by 1 point. Buttigieg is under Trump by 3 points, and then Warren is under Trump by 2 points. All of this is in North Carolina. And then Sanders leads Trump by 1 point, and then Biden leads Trump by 1 point.
Well, see, the question is, because the sample of these polls is pretty big. They're asking, like the last Emerson poll, which was 2 days ago, asked 1,096 registered voters. So the question is, when you break that 1,096 people down, how many are black? How many are white? What are their income situation? What party are they? You know, that whole. So when you're looking at these polls, now I don't look at polls, okay? Because we all know what happened in 2016 when everyone looked at the polls. And
yeah, I was about to bring that up. Someone in the chat, Kaioken, literally just said that. He said, Real Clear Politics says, but look at what happened in 2016. Do you think the same thing is possible? I really just want to recorrect on that, because the polls were actually pretty accurate. It's just that in a couple of states, they were probably sampling a lot of people from the cities, and that's why the polls were so inaccurate, because that's what happens whenever you do that. You don't poll people A lot of these pollers, they don't poll people from like, rural Pennsylvania. They don't like poll from like Elk County in Pennsylvania. If anyone even knows what Elk County is in Pennsylvania, because I do. So the thing is that they're polling these people from city areas. The polls, though, in 2016, they were pretty accurate. Clinton won against Trump by 3 points. Some of the polls were saying that she was leading by 2 to 5 points. So that was about in the middle.
Win. What do you mean by win? Popular vote or what?
By popular vote. Because points, like, that's assuming there's a popular vote, and there's not a popular vote. It didn't assume that she was going to win the Electoral College. It's just that it assumed that she was going to win the popular vote.
Well, see, here's my whole thing about the whole 2020 situation is, number one, you cannot, I don't care who you put. If they are progressive, like Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, all these, it's going to be difficult for them to win Ohio, to win these Obama voters. Because if you look at,
I honestly don't think Ohio, North Carolina, and possibly even Wisconsin are not even going to flip in 2020.
Well, I think that, again, you have to look at you ever heard of the Obama-Trump voter?
Yeah, they have to win those people back, which they probably won maybe
when people
a couple
look
of
at
them.
The reason why when people look at the reason why Trump won, a lot of people say, "Oh, his immigration or his healthcare." No, that's not the reason why he won. The reason why he won was because he went up to Michigan, he went up to Pennsylvania, he went up to Ohio, and said, "You vote for me, I'll get your job back." Now, these same people that voted for him in 2016 are the same people that voted for Obama twice. And Clinton did not click, so to speak, with the Obama voter. It don't matter how many times Obama went up to these states. She just didn't click with him. And now in 2020, it's a real chance the president will not get reelected based off the fact of the taxes, the economy, and who the Democrats put up as the candidate. Because if you put someone like Elizabeth Warren up, I don't think she can beat Trump. And it's not because she's a woman, but because
she's just an awful candidate.
Her policies. I mean, she wants to get rid of student loan debt, and that's going to be expensive to do something like that.
Didn't I talk to you the other day about a similar plan proposed by Bernie Sanders? He wants to wipe out $1.6 trillion of student debt, and you said that was a good thing. What do you think about it now?
Well, it is a good thing on paper, but you got to understand.
So you don't support it anymore?
I mean, I support helping people that have student loan debt because that is a pain in the butt. But what you have to understand is that all this has to pass Congress, and it's not going to pass Congress. So I can support it all day. Sanders can, and whoever else can sit up here and bang on the podium and support. But the fact of the matter is 9 times out of 10, it's just not going to become an actual thing unless you can get Republicans on board. And then you have to. A lot of people need to understand when they look at all these Democrats out here, you look at the loudest group of people, it's the progressives right now. There are more moderate Democrats like myself. I consider myself a moderate Democrat in the Democratic Party than there is progressives. We're just not as vocal as progressives are. So all that student loan debt, Medicare for all, it's not going to fly by in the Democratic Party. Okay, so I see you're doing a 270 map. Well, number one, yeah, man, I don't think Minnesota's going to flip. Minnesota's like a really mixed bag. They were really close. Yeah, but I don't think that. Well, put one of them candidates up.
I had Biden up, but then I got rid of him. I just kind of like
How do you
going over.
pronounce this? How do you pronounce the guy's name? Keoken or something like that.
Who?
He said the dude in the chat. He said, "How did moderates become displaced within the Democratic Party, especially when the majority?"
Oh, Keoken.
Well, problem is, we're not displaced yet. Let's get that right. We're not displaced. We're still a predominant force, a dominant force, excuse me, in the Democratic Party. The next 10 years may not be so much, because the progressives in the party are trying to shift the party too far to the left. And what they don't understand is if they shift the party too far to the left,
they're not going to win another election.
They're going to start losing supporters, because these people that live in the Ohio, Pennsylvania, these are Rust Belt states. Okay, when you start talking about getting Medicare for all, getting rid of their private insurance, they're going to go crazy.
Honestly, after 2020 or 2024, depending on whether Trump wins election, like I can probably see like in assuming Trump gets reelected and he goes on to 2024 and then he can't run again, I honestly can see another Republican winning in 2024 and until 2028, because they're not going to have anyone to pick on in 2024. Like 2024 is going to be the most changing election in American history. And I say that because...
Which election now?
2024.
Okay.
Because 2024 is basically going to be the year that Trump can't run again. And if a Democrat wins in 2020, they're winning in 2020 because Trump is so unpopular. Because Trump is Trump. But in 2024, what are they going to have to show for it?
Well, let's get real.
And that's probably 2020 is probably going to be the last election that the Democrats can win for probably another 10 or 12 years.
I'm not going to say all that now. I don't know about that. But if you look at the president's approval rating, right? Again, take this with a grain of salt, but the president's approval rating is
almost 45%.
40. Again, he has 55% of the country that disagree with what he's doing as president. Now, when you're going into an election year, right? You look at President Obama. His approval rating was around. His approval rating around 2012 election was around 50%. He had at least 50% of the country supporting him. I think that's one of the reasons why I got reelected. But
he had how much?
About Trump, about 50%. But my whole thing about Trump is, I just think that a lot of Americans are going to look at him and look at what he's done and say, okay, he's been president 4 years. He hasn't been impeached, and we'll get on to impeachment in a second. But he has a hot head, he has a hot temper, and do I really want a temper as president of the United States? Because me personally, I don't agree with him on Twitter talking about
Keoken, it's a 45-55 split. 45 disapprove, 55 disapprove, and like whatever that difference is undecided. But basically that's kind of like what the situation is with the approval rating. Just to kind of make that clear.
Well, he ain't popular. He's not popular. He hasn't.
No, he's not.
He hasn't had a approval rating above 50% since he's been in office.
He's never had an approval rating above 50%.
Well,
whenever he was inaugurated, he started off with like a 46% approval rating.
And he just went down from there. And
Obama and Bush, like, Obama had like a very, very steady approval rating, like in the 50s. And he ended off with like a 60% approval rating. Bush, he had like what was it? It was like a 90% approval rating.
Well,
and then it just treaded down all the way through. He had, around 2004?
Well, the thing about Bush is...
Like a high 50s.
The thing about Bush is, you mentioned Obama first. Obama had a high 60% approval rating because he was the first black president. Let's just be real. Bush,
he started off with like a mid 60s.
But then 9/11 happened, and everyone became patriotic for 5 seconds and supported.
They became patriotic for like 2 years.
For 5 seconds.
His approval rating was above 80 from like September 11, 2001 to like 2000, mid 2002.
Well,
it didn't even go below 60 until like 2003, and then it shot up again, and then went down to like mid 50s, and then shot up again in 2004 after his re-election.
Well, my whole thing about Bush is his approval rating shot up to 90% because of 9/11. It trickled down. Then it shot up again because of Iraq. Trickled down, and it shot up again in 2004, and it just went down from there. I just think that what Trump needs to do is, honestly, if he wants to get reelected, he needs to that Twitter stuff's got to stop, because all the Democrats have to do, the first thing the Democrats need to do is stop talking about impeachment. There is no.
That's like honestly a death sentence for the Democrats right now.
You cannot win in 2020 if you holler an impeachment. And that whole impeachment, like Beto is like Beto was talking about. Well, the whole if I was president, I would charge the president for whatever crimes in the Mueller. I'm like, what are you talking about? Okay, there's been no proof that the president broke the law. If there was proof, he wouldn't have been charged. Okay, I'm pretty sure there's some kind of proof out there, but it's been covered up. It's Washington. So Democrats' best thing they need to do is get off impeachment, start talking about the issues that matter to the American people. Impeachment do not matter to the American people.
The thing is that also, like, I also think that he's still gonna get, like, he still has a really good chance, because despite his approval rating, like, more than 90% of the people that voted for him are still gonna vote for him in 2020.
I don't know about that.
That's
a lot of them people voted for him also because of his tax. He promised them tax cuts.
Yeah, and he delivered.
No, he didn't deliver. A lot of people. I was on Twitter about a couple months ago, right around when people start getting their returns, and a lot of people was like, "Oh, I paid more in taxes because of this tax write-off I was using for all these years. It's been gotten rid of, so I have to pay more taxes." So a lot of people are going to say, well, he didn't deliver. Some people will say, okay, he delivered. Then other people are going to say he didn't. So I think he'll lose some support.
Hey, Oceana, what do you mean? Like, what's both of your views? Like, what question are you asking right there? Keep going back, sir.
I think also the thing about Trump is, even though the economy is doing well, the question is, has people's wages gone up? Because every day, the cost of goods and services go up. But
haven't wages been going up though?
From the last model I seen, wages from 1992 ish all the way to now. They went up in the 90s, the economic boom and all that. Then it started to taper off, and then it really tapered off in 2008. And then it's pretty much been stagnated right around the same area from 1992 levels. But, I mean,
Let me look. I'm trying to find that because I swear I've seen it before. Non-farm payrolls have been going up for the past couple of years. They've just kind of been...
Because I'm reading something from Pew Research right now, and is this it? I don't want to read all this bull jive.
Oh, yeah, non-farm. Okay, so that's literally just the job numbers. Hey, stop it.
I mean, see, also another thing about the president is
unemployment's been going down, inflation has been going down.
But see, the problem with all that is he didn't do really much to contribute to all that. He inherited an economy that was pretty much booming already. He didn't have to do anything.
And we've had this discussion before, and I'm going to say it again. Basically, he did inherit an economy that was on the right track, and he kept it in that momentum. He could have passed anything that he wanted that basically would have stopped that, and we would have been seeing it by now. But
what could have he passed that could have stopped it?
Large tax increases.
Well, number one, no Republican, I'm going to pretty much tell you this right now, no Republican is ever going to sit up here and pass a tax increase unless it's truly, honestly needed. That is political suicide. If you don't believe me, go back to 1992. But honestly, I mean, I don't think Donald Trump is that stupid to start passing stuff that's going to have a negative impact on the economy.
Yeah. So you would have to give it to him that basically he has kept that momentum going.
What really do you need to do to keep? I mean, all you have to do is
even by deregulating the economy and doing things like repealing the previous administration's efforts, that hasn't stopped the economy.
Well, see, it's not going to stop the economy now. But if we have another recession, with him trying to deregulate, like Dodd-Frank and all the other financial regulations that the
has he even tried Dodd-Frank again?
No,
because I thought he did that whenever he got in.
Yeah, I didn't understand all that. But see, a lot of economists are saying, with him trying to deregulate everything, that's going to have the next recession could be worse than the 2008 recession. Okay, and I believe that
the next recession is going to be the last recession.
I don't believe that. But I think that what the president, all the president has to do really is, I mean, when you inherited an economy that's booming, you don't really need to do anything except just let it boom. Okay,
it's a lot more complicated than that, but I believe.
I mean, what economic policy do you need to pass?
Large regulations, tax increases.
Well, see, he's not going to. Well, see, you understand he's a Republican.
Yeah, he's not going to do that.
Republicans are not for increased taxes. Republicans are not for increased regulations. Okay, so what he's came in and done is he's came in and followed the exact, in my opinion, this is not fact, it's only my opinion, but I think he's followed the exact same economic model that Ronald Reagan used. Okay, he cut taxes for the wealthy taxpayers and hoping that they would invest in companies and all of that would trickle on down to the consumer and yada, yada, yada. Okay. I don't believe in supply side economics, and you know why.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think that what the president needs to do really is.
Kaioken says he's only increased the momentum, the deregulation, corporate tax cuts. That's another thing I've never cited before,
What does he mean
honestly.
by increased momentum? Because the economic figures.
In income tax cuts, I think he's probably helping the economy a lot more than you're giving credit for. He then said, Although I don't necessarily agree with any of those things, they are definitely having a big impact on the economy.
I mean,
the only reason it isn't doing better, or it is being tampered with by the quote-unquote trade war, increased the moment that Obama created. That's also what he said.
Well, you look at the growth rate, which is currently 3.1%, and I don't want to say it's going to decrease, because I think I did hear that it could decrease, but I mean, really, the growth rate has been the same.
3.6 Rontgen. It's not great, but it's not terrible.
I mean, when the president took office in January 2017, the growth rate was 1.8%.
Free Power and Revolution for whoever gets that reference, by the way.
Anyway, I mean, the growth rate, yeah, it went from 1.8% to 3.1%. Okay, the GDP is 22 trillion. I understand all that, but other than that, I mean, our economy ain't. He may have helped it increase momentum a little bit, but really, he hasn't. In my opinion, he hasn't increased momentum that much, because we're talking about a growth rate of 3.1%, which is which is normal for our economy. Although I do agree with what he has said about this. He has said that in order to compete with China, I'm not delusional, by the way, but he did.
No, he's calling me delusional. It's a reference. He gets it.
But yeah, I agree with the president on one thing. He did say, in order to compete with China, because everyone, if you don't know, by 2030, China is going to become the largest economy in the world. He did say, in order for us to stay the largest economy in the world, we need to have instead of growing at 3%, we should grow at 4 to 5%. A lot of economists say, yeah, I agree with that. But Trump, on the economy, he ain't really done nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But the trade war with China is killing those soybean farmers, which is another reason why I think that could play a heavy impact on states like Iowa, Tennessee. Well, Tennessee, I'll take that back on Tennessee, but Iowa, and anywhere else they grow soybean. They grow a lot of soybean in North Carolina.
And soybeans.
I mean, when you have a farmer that sends most of their product to China, and they put a tariff on it, increasing the cost. You gotta forgive me. I'm tired. It's 12 o'clock here, but my stance on foreign policy is this: let's worry about America first. Okay, let's get our people health care. Let's get our people education. Let's fix our roads. Let's do what we need to do in this country first before we go and try to police the world. That's what we need to do.
Oceana is asking what your stances on foreign policy are.
I just answered this question.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You
don't mind me changing the subject for a moment. What are you guys' thoughts on the Iran issue at the moment? I live in Australia, and we are part of the ANZUS Treaty, and everyone knows what that means. So it's a big talking point among Australians recently.
This is my whole thing about Iran. I don't care about what they do over there. Okay, Iran, if they get a nuclear weapon tomorrow, they're not going to shoot at the United States. They're not going to shoot at Israel. They just want nuclear weapons because Israel has nuclear weapons. And because Israel and Iran hate each other's guts so much.
The thing is, should we allow other countries to develop nuclear weapons? Because that is a direct violation of something called the Non-Proliferation Treaty.
Is Iran in the Non-Proliferation Treaty?
Yes.
They can just leave it then. Damn. I mean,
but they're a part of it right now. They're a full signatory. So, why do we have the NPT when we're not even enforcing it? Should it be enforced? Yeah, they are a full signatory and ratifier. They've already ratified it. I think they were one of the some of the original countries that actually ratified it. They could have left it whenever the revolution happened.
Well, my whole thing about Iran is, I understand Iran's a part of the non-proliferation treaty. I understand we don't want Iran to get nuclear weapons, but from what I understand and from what I've heard and comprehended from multiple sources such as Vox and now this and CNN on the whole Iran nuclear deal is Iran was following the deal on their end. Now, it may have been screwed up where they didn't allow UN inspectors. I don't understand why. I thought that was stupid. But from what I understand, the current deal, Iran was following it. Okay. So I don't understand why Trump left the deal or backed out of the deal. And now I don't know if I don't want to say I don't want to say this is actual true, but I don't, does he think that because we left, Iran's supposed to still follow the same deal? Because to me, because when
we left it, but the thing is that they're still a signatory of that Iran deal.
But
it doesn't matter whether United States is in it; they're still a signatory.
Because if you think about it,
the only thing that it doesn't guarantee is that the United States will not start a war with Iran.
But
that's the only guarantee that us being out of the treaty is.
See, here's the thing about that whole treaty. Without the U.S., who is going to enforce this treaty? France? The U.K.?
Yes.
No.
They should be expected to. And if anyone seriously needs the United States to be in a treaty just so it can get enforced, that's very bad. Because why should the United States, for one, be expected to enforce every single treaty that it's a part of? Why can't the United Kingdom take up arms? Why can't France stand up and do something for once? Why can't Germany do that if Germany is the leader, the quote unquote leader of the free world after the election of Donald Trump?
I've never saw Germany. I still think that Trump is the
Some people have cited Germany as the leader of the free world now.
Well, them people are retards.
I know.
So, but my whole thing about this is that we're in 2019. We're not in 1919 where the United Kingdom was the superpower. After World War II, we became the superpower of the world, as well as the Soviet Union, if you want to say there was a superpower.
Soviet Union?
Yeah. So
you don't call the Soviet Union a superpower?
Yeah, I said the U.S. and the Soviet Union became superpowers or major powers or whatever the terminology you want to use of the world. And ever since then, when the Cold War failed, when the Berlin Wall fell, we became the only superpower. Okay, so we have enough power to get shit done in the world. That's why Iran, in my opinion, will not follow by this stipulations because isn't it the original agreement was we had the U.S., France, Germany, Russia, and China, as well as Iran, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have Russia and China. They don't give a damn about what Iran does because they're allies with Iran.
And the EU. Don't forget the EU.
Fuck them.
Hey, watch your language. This is a live stream.
But France, the European Union don't have the amount of power. Germany, France, the United Kingdom, they don't have the amount of power and diplomatic action as the United States does. So, having said that, that's why a lot of European countries was like, hey, instead of leaving, let's try and fix this deal. Because they know that without the United States, they can't enforce this deal. Because Russia and China are going to take the size of Iran. And without the United States, the deal is just going to go up in a bonfire. So that's why I didn't understand why he thinks.
China's special envoy on the Middle East issue, Gong Zhaosheng, stated that the People's Republic of China would continue to preserve and implement the comprehensive agreement on Iran's nuclear program, saying that dialogue is better than confrontation.
Man, look.
So the Chinese are apparently it's the United Kingdom and France and that's a former Israeli prime minister.
Yeah, your boy asked, does Europe import Iranian oil? I don't know about that. I know they get their natural gas from Russia.
They get their natural gas and oil majorly, like a majority of it comes from Russia. So I don't know why. I don't even think there's a lot of major oil pipe I don't think there's a lot of major oil pipelines that run from the Middle East to Europe.
Well,
I highly doubt that they would be getting their oil from Iran anyway, because like they've been at odds with Europe like for so many years.
But see, they're at odds with Russia, but they get their natural gas from Russia. Iran's major trading partners is China, Pakistan. I want to say India, but I know China and Pakistan is one of them.
China, definitely.
I don't want to say Russia. I think it's just China and Pakistan. I mean,
not really.
I noticed. Well, North Korea is irrelevant. I mean, let's get real. North Korea is irrelevant. I mean,
screw North Korea.
Like, and see, this another thing I don't understand is that he's
international sanctions has like affected its oil industry. Oil and natural gas are Iran's most important exports, along with other exports including chemicals, plastic, and fruits. They mainly export to Taiwan, China, Turkey, South Korea, and India.
What the hell kind of fruit they got in Iran?
I don't know.
Shit.
Their main imports are machinery, cereals, iron, and steel, and chemicals. Or they're exporting and importing chemicals. That's weird. Their main import partners are the UAE, China, South Korea, Turkey, and Germany. They are a founding member of the ECO and the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC.
Fuck OPEC.
Hey! Watch your mouth. This is a Christian. This is a Christian live stream.
Shit. Well, look.
You said it again.
My whole thing about Iran is they're not bold enough. No country in the world has the balls to shoot a nuclear missile at the United States of America, because every country in the world knows what's going to happen. We're going to make the biggest parking lot in the world out of these countries. Okay. Also, North Korea. I don't know why Trump even entertaining that guy. There's no point because we've set up here.
It's called detente.
Fuck detente. That's that bull job French talk right there. Look here. Okay, North Korea. We've been dealing with North Korea since Clinton, and every time we've had a deal and we've had them at the table.
Just 1 second, Oceana. Are you saying the United States is state atheist, or who are you saying is state atheist? Okay, keep going.
Get into religion.
No, I'm not. I just wanted to know what he was asking.
But you know, we've always got North Korea at the table. It may have not been Kim Jong Young, whatever it is.
Oh my God! Don't even do that on my live stream, boy.
whatever the people's name was, we may have not gotten him at the table, but we had them at the table and we came to an agreement. And then within like 3 to 5 years, they've always backed out of the deal. So that's why we just pretty much always had sanctions on them. So that's why I'm like, it's no point even talking to them. And Trump's sitting over here talking about, hey, I went over there and they stopped testing nuclear missiles. The reason why they stopped testing nuclear missiles because they got what they got. You know, they everything's set. They don't need to test nothing no more.
This is a Christian live stream. Oh, that's what he meant.
No, this is not a Christian live stream. We is not talking about Jesus and none of that in here. It's 12 o'clock at night, and there's still 6 people in here watching this.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this live stream anyway. Huh?
Oh Lord, Elizabeth Warren's on the freaking show.
Oh, they have her after the debate.
Yeah, she's a freaking goofball. I mean, she literally. This is the thing I don't freaking understand about her. She literally set up here
For those watching right now, if you are interested in buying Power and Revolution, go ahead and use that coupon that I just posted in the.
Screw you on your coupon.
Hey, shut up.
But,
go ahead and use that coupon that I have posted in the live chat below, and I will actually put that in the description as well. So, again, for those watching, just go ahead and make sure to use that. Just go to the website, buy it from their website, and apply that coupon code on checkout.
but yeah, Elizabeth Warren, she stood up here and takes a little DNA ancestry mingle crap test. Right, and it come out she what 1 out of 20% Native American. Like, what's going on, man?
Huh.
She's a joke. Her campaign's a joke. Let's talk. And Tulsi Gabbard.
Thank you for joining the live stream, Oceana, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Tulsi Gabbard ain't going nowhere. She just need to go ahead and go and sit down somewhere, go on back to Hawaii and get on their board.
All right, so for those watching right now, again, thank you guys so much for joining this live stream. I will be back tomorrow, and I will be back tomorrow with Backstar, and I will be back with my girlfriend, Caitlin, who will be joining me. Both of them think completely opposite of me, so they will be joining me tomorrow for this live stream of part 2, night 2 of the 2020 Democratic presidential debate. These are going to be the first debates of many debates of the 2020 election season. Highly doubt there's going to be any Republican debates since only Bill Weld is running against Donald Trump.
Who the fuck is Bill Weld?
He was the guy that ran as the VP on the VP ticket for who is that guy? Gary Johnson on the Libertarian ticket.
Johnson?
Yeah. But anyway, again, I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for watching this live stream, and I will see you guys then. And again, make sure to join me, Caitlin, and Backstar tomorrow for that live stream. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow.